All right. So first of all, Linda, I want to thank you very much for joining us and taking time out of your busy day and busy life right now to join us,
Yeah,
especially.
so busy.
Well, it was funny. I don't know if you listened to Spit and Chicklets. So it's a great hockey podcast. And so they always do a really good job introducing their guests. And I'm going to try to do my best impression of these guys. But so with us today is Lynn Van Broek. I was on her website, and the list of accolades is very long, so I can't read them all. But Rookie of the Year in 1993. You've been a board medallion winner, I think, since 1994 and running all the way through. It looks like, from my research, you haven't missed a year. You were inducted into the RE/MAX Circle of Legends in 2017. I love the real estate awards, right? It's all these great things that no one knows what they mean, but sounds great. And of course, I love the one that I thought really was nice was you got the Platinum Award for the Children's Hospital. And so from all your donations and giving. So again, there's a whole bunch of other ones in there, but again, the list was so long to read. But long story short, you've been a highly productive and highly great member of Winnipeg Realtors for a long time now, and still crushing it. And so welcome, Linda.
I'm still here. We'll go with that.
Awesome. All right. So kind of, I guess, one of the first things is, you started in 1993, Rookie of the Year. Tell me what was it like at the beginning in the 90s, So 93, that was a tough time, I think.
Back when most of your agents weren't born. Well, you know what? First of all, it was a recession. We were in a really big recession from 91 to 94. The whole country was in a recession. And that's when I decided, maybe I'll get my real estate license, which, you know what? It's a good time when the markets are low. It's a good time to do something big like that, because all you can do is get better, and all it can go is up, right? It can't go down. Whereas we're kind of in a bit of a change right now. So it was a time of my life that I was 27 years old, didn't know what I wanted to do in life, didn't want to keep doing what I was doing, and decided I would jump right in and get my license. And it was tough. It was really hard going. It was hard to get any business because there was a recession going on. But I was really fortunate. I actually tagged on to, for many of you I don't even know if you'll remember David Knight and David.
Oh yeah, of course.
Knight.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
they were very kind. I started at a small company called Delbro Real Estate, which eventually LePage purchased back in the early 2000s, I think.
Yep.
Anyways, or 97 or 98.
Late 90s, late 90s,
yeah.
I believe. Yeah.
Well, anyways, David and Andrew were very kind, and they sort of saw something in me, some get up and go, and they helped me get started. And I would do open houses for David, and I sold my first house 2 weeks in, and I have actually never blanked a month since. So very fortunate, but I literally followed David and Andrea around like a lost puppy. If David was in his office talking to a client, I would slide in with my notes, and whatever he was saying, I would write down, and then I would repeat it to anybody I met. I had no idea what I was talking about, but it sounded like I was really educated and knew a little bit about the market. He would throw me open houses. I would convert them into buyers. And my very first client is still a client today.
Wow, that is awesome.
Yeah, and Susan Moeller is her name. I sold her her first house, sold that house, sold her her second house, sold that house, sold her her third house. She's still in it. Sold her mom's house, sold her aunt's house. And the fellow that I sold one of her homes to just got a hold of me the other day to sell his mom's house.
Wow.
That was my very first client. So keeping in touch with your clients is a good thing.
Well, that's definitely something that I know we're gonna talk about, is that approach and how you actually did that. That's amazing consistency to not blank a month since 1993. That's something we all wish I could do. I myself, I can't say that. I remember I skunked a whole quarter one time and I was about to jump off a bridge. So I get it.
Squeaked in. Sometimes it's only been one sale, but I
squeaked it in. Yeah. So a bit more about, you kind of mentioned when we talked yesterday, we kind of chatted a bit about this interview. You said, those first few years, though, despite, the success that you had, there were some rough times. Can you kind of talk a bit about that?
You know what? I can actually very clearly remember sitting on the edge of my bed, crying hysterically that I thought I was going to lose my house because I could deal with buyers. I couldn't get a listing. I didn't have the knowledge and I didn't have the experience. And way back when I started 27 years ago, my Vandenbroek name comes from a previous marriage, which I have been fortunate enough to keep. And my husband just took me aside and he said, you got to keep going. You can't give up now. We got to keep going. You're going to get through this. And he gave me a little pep talk. And I did. I just hunkered down and I just kept going and going. And my very first listing was a $17,000 mobile home. I was the laugh of the office because, as I think you do, we had weekly meetings, and when we'd have our weekly meetings, we'd go around the room and we'd say what your new listing was. And I was very proud to finally get my very first listing of a $17,000 mobile home, which was getting me into listings. And honestly, the whole office laughed at me. Wow. And they chuckled and they laughed. And I just kind of thought to myself, you know what? I will show you that I can do this. And honestly, I just did everything I had to do. I took every phone call. I listened to whatever David said. I copied his listing presentation. I followed him around like a lost puppy. And we were very fortunate. Back in the day at Delbro, they had training classes. So when you started as a realtor, they didn't want you really doing a whole lot until you went through a 10-week training class. And every week, somebody taught us something different. So Mike Dubiensky, for one particular thing, he was really great and still is really great at open houses. So he taught all the new realtors that started at Delbro how to do an open house. Another realtor taught us how to show a house. Rod Peeler, for those of you who remember him, I Don't Sleep. He was in marketing, so he taught us how to market and how to brand ourselves. So the top 10 realtors of our company were, I don't know if they were required, but they were very generous with their time, and they took us through a 10-week training course, and I did everything. Every single one of them told me to do what to do, and I went from being the greenest realtor in the office to being in the top 2 to 3 realtors in the office within the first couple of years of my business, because I just listened to everything that the top realtors were doing. So
yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
So again, kind of going through some of those tough times, you said your husband kind of was there to champion you on. It sounds like you had a bit of a chip on your shoulder too, a little, and trying to, prove yourself. What other lessons did you really have to go out of the way to say, I really need to learn this. I'm lacking here. What did you see that you needed, and how did you go get that information, and how did you learn those things?
You know what? I took every real estate course I could. So whether it was a sales class on how to close the sale, whatever seminar it was, whatever they offered at the board, whatever they offered through our company, I took them. I signed up for whatever course I could, and I just sort of was a little bit of a sponge. And I took a little piece of this and a little piece of that, and I kind of tried to incorporate my own personality into it, and I made it my own. But I really, honestly, I listened to the top realtors. I watched what they were doing. I don't know if you guys remember Diane Bourbonnais. She's an appraiser now. So this is where I'm dating myself. I remember driving around the city and seeing these huge billboards of Diane Bourbonnais, #1 real estate agent in the city, blah, blah, blah. And I just thought, you know what? One day that's going to be me. And I took every call, every crappy call. I took every crappy listing. I worked with low-end buyers. You just do it all, because every dollar counts, and every person, regardless of where they were shopping in terms of value, whether what they were selling, they were equally as important to me as a high-end client, and I treated them that way, and I continue to treat my clients that way. So honestly, I just did whatever the top realtors did. I just followed suit as in my low-end grade that I could do. Whatever my low-end marketing budget was, I would do whatever I could do. And back in the day, that's how we find our clients, was open houses. There was no pictures online. There was no internet. There was just a book that showed up, and we'd photocopy little pieces of paper, and we'd run all over the city throwing, here's your new listings, because there was no other way to get the listings to anybody. So how real estate's done today is much simpler than what it was, the grind that we had to go through to get to what we have to get to.
Yeah, absolutely. So kind of when you, what was it like? I mean, when you started kind of getting, more volume under your belt, more sales, that kind of thing, kind of rising to the top, if you will, did you feel like there was one sort of a thing that propelled you there, or was it kind of like the slow burn that kind of just build and build and build, or did you kind of have some of these big moments where you took a big leap?
Okay, so there is a funny story with that, because it was So I was headhunted to Remax back in 1996. So my 4th year into real estate. And back in the day, you couldn't just go join a company like Remax. They had to decide if you were good enough to be part of them. So they would headhunt you and say, we're going to give you 3 months free this, and we're going to pay this, and we're going to do that, and please come. And they would take you out for fancy dinners and like, please become a real estate agent. And I decided finally, because I kept losing all my business to Remax at that time, because they were new in the city, that I would leap over and I would become a realtor at Remax. And there was one particular agent in the office, and I don't know, I should mention his name, he's still there. And he would just be fooling, like he'd be laughing and joking. And some of you will probably know exactly who I'm talking about. I would go to the office and I'd see him and he'd be standing at the top of the staircase saying to his clients, bye, love ya, you guys are awesome. And he's like giving them hugs. And I'm looking at him going, how does this guy make a living? Like, how is he making so much money? He's such a twit, is what I would think, as horrible as that is.
Nobody's ever thought that about
Nobody's
anybody.
ever thought that.
No,
and I
never.
kept watching him, and I was really, at that time in my career, very just talk about business, didn't let anybody into my personal life. It was like, I'm here to talk business, we're here to do a job, and that was it. And I thought, you know what? He's just being himself. People like him. And I let my guard down. And honestly, that was my aha moment. I started laughing and joking with people and bringing out my own personality. And honest to God, my sales catapulted. They just went boom, right? Like wow. They surpassed the other agent. And it was like, it was very male dominated. So I used to refer to it as me and the boys, because I would now be at the top of the leader pile and all the guys would be kind of behind me more often than not. And I would just go, yeah, it's just me and my boys, me and my guys. Yeah. And I just started being me. And I started asking people about their family and about their children and getting involved and showing them that I was human and I wasn't just looking for the commission. And honest to God, my sales went through the roof. I think I doubled my income that year.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm just going to piggyback onto that because you mentioned, being human, and we talked about it a bit yesterday. What kind of things were you doing because you've built this incredible referral network and past clients are loyal. How have you strategically done that? And what things do you still do today to kind of build that loyalty with people?
You know what? I thank people. I thank them in my emails. When I email people, I end my email with, thank you for reaching out to me again. Your business is important to me. I appreciate that you reached out. Like, I promise I'll be able to help you in any way I can. And I have handwritten a thank you note to every single client from the very first day that I started to today. And I continue to write thank you notes. If you buy a house from me, you get a handwritten thank you note. You get a closing gift. I spend tens of thousands of dollars on client gifts. I have for many, many years. You can't see them, but I have stockpiled Google Hubs right now in my house. I have 100 of them. I went
the Google Homes. Yeah.
I went and bought the Google Hub. So those are my gifts this year. So I change them up every year. Everybody gets a handwritten thank you note. Everybody who refers me business gets a $100 gift card to go for dinner. And I don't necessarily get to write those off, and I don't care. That is my thank you. I can tell you those thank yous go tens of thousands of miles. I get clients that will refer me 4 and 5 times a year, and 4 or 5 times a year, I send them out for dinner, and they send me pictures of them sitting at the Joey restaurant or at the K going, thanks, Linda. And at $100, you can go out for dinner.
Yeah.
You might not have more than one drink, but you can at least go out for dinner. So the one thing that's really stuck with me is to say thank you. And I thank people all the time. Thank you for your business. Thank you for your referral. Thank you for reaching out to me. And I do it in a way that they remember, and always with a handwritten note.
Yeah,
right
awesome.
from day one.
It sounds like you were Buffiniing before Buffini came around, and it's simple. That's not anything. It's simple but profound. That's not saying thank you.
Honestly, Michael, I don't do anything that's complex. Everything I do is very simple. I've done simple things right from, how they say KIS, keep it simple. I've kept it simple since the first day, and it works for me. So I'm sticking with it.
Yeah, good stuff. So fast forward, since 1993, however many years that is, 27 years. You're still here, still vibrant, still pushing. And you've probably seen, again, over those years, a lot of agents come in, come out, flash in the pans. What do you think? I mean, what's the difference between somebody like that and the longevity that you've been able to produce? Where are those differences from saying I'm a flash in the pan agent to, and to being able to have a career with such longevity and high production for 27 years? What's the difference?
I think you have to be humble. I think that the flashy realtor, it doesn't work. For me personally, I don't drive any better vehicle than my clients do. I don't dress any better than my clients do. I try to be at a client level and not sort of look or feel like I'm trying to be any better than them, because I don't think that I am. And I do see some realtors. There was a realtor a few years ago that was, crazy, making some gravy train, making $70,000, $80,000 for a few months in a row. And he went out and bought a Jaguar, and he was, fancy this and fancy that. And 3 months later, he didn't really have much going on. And I think we have to be very careful. We can make a very generous living, but we can't let our clients see that. That has to be, you have to have a very humble, in my opinion, lifestyle, because we are labeled as, oh, you realtors are so rich. So for me, the flash in the pan sometimes happens when a realtor comes in and goes crazy, has a big peak, and then they crash because they get a little bit maybe too full of themselves. And I think that we have to be very careful that we are not full of ourselves. And I think that we have to really treat our fellow realtors with the utmost respect, and we have to be kind to our fellow realtors. I can't tell you how many times I've had done the first deal with a realtor that they've ever done, and you've got to pretty much walk them through the whole thing. And I do think that you have to remember that we all started, and more than anything, just to be humble. I really think that the arrogance doesn't get you anywhere in our industry. I don't know if that really answers your question, but
no, well, it certainly adds it. I believe I've, I think, some of the people watching, we know the guy because he came from our office, but there was one, I remember, first came in, hot shot, 3-piece suit, convertible, all this stuff, hot car, came in, hit it out pretty good after the first, 6 months, a year. And then 3 years later out, and, I don't know what he's doing now, but completely, did not make it. All that stuff did not last. So I can totally, I can identify with that. We've seen agents come and go like that. So
yeah. And I think that we have to remember to just be kind to our clients and support them, whether they're having a wedding social or whatever it is that they're doing, that you've got to try to support their fundraising things and sort of be one with your clients, and don't just think of them just as a client. But a lot of my clients have become friends over the years.
Right.
And I think that's probably very common for most people with social media today. They're all on social media together and that kind of thing. But I don't know, I think just being really humble is huge. It's easy to be, getting to the top is a fun ride, and you're reaching goals and you're getting there. Once you get there, staying there is the challenge.
Right.
The climb, and everybody can do the climb. You can get there. To maintain that level of real estate is where the grind comes in. And we have to remember that you got to take whatever call you get. They all add up to the top of the hill. But once you get there, it's very stressful trying to stay there.
Yeah, well, I think, I can identify with that. I think there's some agents, that we talk to all the time, and it is a matter of staying there, and the kind of the pressure that brings. So how did you, it's
put that pressure on yourself too, right? Like,
right.
Some people don't care, and some people are like, oh no, I'm going to get there. I had one agent, I'm going to say it was 7 or 8 years ago. He came up to me and he said, you know what, Linda, I'm going to get you this year. I'm going to beat you, and I'm going to be higher than you this year. And I just looked at him and I went, ha! I said, that is not happening. That's not happening. Like, I'm competitive. I will see you from the top down. And at the end of the year, he came up to me and he said, I will never say that to you again. So sometimes a friendly competition is what I need to keep me motivated, because I like to win. I like to win. I like to be on the top.
Yeah.
I'm
No,
slowly,
that's,
I'm slowly fading off that little leap just because I'm getting older and not working as much. But if somebody puts a challenge out to me, honest to goodness, Michael, it is foot to the floor. It's like, get out of my way. You are not going to beat me.
yeah. Okay. I like it.
It's my spunky foot to the floor.
Yeah, I like it. So a bit about the marketing that you've done. I think you've done, we joked about it yesterday, I get your marketing pieces in the mail and,
You do.
and so I see them and we chatted a bit about it yesterday. So tell me a bit about the marketing that you've done, some of the things you've implemented over the years that has worked, and what mistakes have you kind of made along the way and have to, oh shoot, scrap that and kind of start over, and what's worked. I know you've been farming a lot for years, so maybe you could tell us a little bit about that and what your strategy has been.
Farming is timely and it's expensive. And in my personal opinion, for me, if I'm not going to do it professionally, I'm not going to do it. So I'm not going to take a photocopy of, hi, this is me and this is how many houses I've sold, and put my picture on it and photocopy it 500,000 times and send it out in the mail. I try to put something of content in somebody's hands. So for years, you've seen me do a newsletter called Making Sense of Real Estate, where I talk about a topic, whether it's a 48-hour clause or a property disclosure statement, or why would you do a home inspection, or why would you use a real estate agent. And I've actually gone to people's homes and they actually have the collection of the newsletters or a collection of my postcards saying, yeah, we've been meaning to call you for a few years and we just haven't quite got there yet. So farming does work, but it takes a long time. You have to have a pretty decent budget in order to do it. My opinion, it has to be professional and something that maybe somebody won't necessarily always throw in the garbage, and something useful. Recipes and everything are great, but I think if we're talking about real estate, we need to give them some stats on the neighborhood or some stats on the market or something that they can hang on to that they find is useful. So that's one of the things that I've been doing for years, and I'm just in the process of rolling that over into an email newsletter, which I don't know if that's going to work, because we are all inundated with email that just goes delete. So that's something I'm just testing right now, because print media is up and down. I think there's still a need for it in our industry. I think we just have to be careful with how we use that. So anything that I do is done with a graphic designer. Janice actually was a client of mine from 15 years ago, and we traded skills. So I sold her house and she did some graphic design for me, and she's been with me for 15 years now, and she changes up my marketing every single year. So every year it runs me probably $3,000 to $4,000 to switch things up. I try to get a new photo every year, and then she does everything for me. So she has postcards that she does for me, just solds, just listeds. She updates all that stuff, and now she's working on social media stuff. And so it's just keeping it current and keeping it professional for me is very, very important. But I do a whole bunch of marketing. I market it digitally in the real estate news. I market in print in the real estate news. I market digitally with my newsletter. I'm trying to learn social media, a little bit of a dinosaur. So that's a learning curve that I need to take some courses on, which I have been. But you know what, you throw something's got to stick, one or two things stick. I think you have to have your feet in a bunch of different things. I don't think you can focus on one thing. So I do a little bit of everything, and one or two things stick here and there, and it sort of sends me on my way for the year.
Yeah. And so have you over the years made any, where you've tried something and it's like, oh man, this just didn't work, and kind of had that, oh shoot, all that money's gone and have to pivot? Or
oh yeah, you know what, even the farming, like sometimes you just think, frick, I've sent this out for 8 months in a row and I haven't even had a phone call. You have to keep going with some stuff like farming can take 2 or 3 years,
right,
and can be very costly, and then all of a sudden it sort of pays you back. But let me just click, what have I done that hasn't really worked? I keep everything really simple. I don't try anything really crazy.
Right.
So far everything's worked.
Yeah. And so you mentioned a little bit about how you've adapted with, learning Facebook. Have you done what else have you had to, with the technology and how things have changed over the years? How have you adapted and still continue to market at a professional level, but with some changes? I mean, besides taking some courses and.
Well, you know what? Honest to goodness, I follow some of our younger realtors and I see what they're doing. And then I try to sort of do my own little spin on it. Like, for example, right now, what's big are these email newsletters. So they're great to put out, but if, in my opinion, they don't look good, then they're not good. So I've hired my graphic designer and she's made me some really cool templates so that are catchy when I send my internet email out, that hopefully that will stick. So honest to goodness, I do follow some of the younger realtors because I do believe that they really have a grasp on the social media. And I'll use my niece Amber as an example. She's unbelievable. She has probably 6,500 people that follow her just on Instagram. And I chat with her back and forth. And she doesn't pay any print media for nothing. Everything for her is social media marketing. And she's, you know, typically silver, gold medallion. Right. So following and learning from our younger realtors is something that I'm queuing into right now.
Yeah. And I see you've started, you know, you're doing the walk in front of the houses now, and you're in your videos. And
I do my videos. I actually also have a video series called Making Sense of Real Estate, and it's what you've seen in my written newsletters. I've actually done those on video. So I have a little video clip of what's a 48-hour clause. I've met with Tom from Pillar to Post, and we did a video on why would you have a home inspection. So I'm just in the process. I'm just waiting for some lighting to show up, and I'm going to be starting to do the incorporating with the video into my newsletters. Because in the middle of it, sort of how we get from the real estate board, you know, we get the monthly thing, and then there's one of the, doing a video update. So I'm just in the process of trying to learn all that while we're off, and still going to be incorporating my videos. They're very costly to do, so you have to be very careful, and you have to have a really good budget, because you don't necessarily do a video on a house and you actually have money come back to you for that. That really is almost a personal promotion. It's really not promoting the house, it's promoting you.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
So yeah, you definitely have to decide how deep your pockets are, and I set a, you know, fairly good budget aside every year for marketing and for client gifts. It's probably, I mean, not some of the big heavy hitters, but I'm probably spending $60,000, $70,000 on that every year.
Right. Yeah. And so and we talked about it yesterday, and I don't mean to put you on the spot, but you said in your, you know, the biggest year that you had, your expenses were how?
Like 400. Like it was crazy.
Yeah. Okay. So I didn't mean to put you on the spot. I'm not going to get into some confidential, but you told me that yesterday. I was like, whoa, okay. So
yeah, that will never happen again, because to work and make almost $500,000 and not get any of it, dumb. Okay, that's the dumbest thing I've ever done. Yeah. We'll go back to what would you never do again? Yeah. I will never make that kind of money ever again. I think as realtors, you have to find where your balance is, and your balance in life and in work, so that you can have a good work and have a life. Because for many years, I didn't have a life, and I can't get that back. And I said to my niece, Amber, she's got a little one now, and I said, don't be me. Do not be me. The tax man doesn't care. The tax man wants your money. They don't care if you have a life. Find that balance. And if your balance is $150,000 a year, that's fantastic. If you can have a life, because you can't get that time back. And I can't. I wasted a lot of years. I missed a lot of things. I missed a lot of family function, a lot of friend functions. I missed lots of vacation time because I was busy foot to the floor. And honestly, if I could look back and give me some advice, one of them would be find a balance. And the other one would be invest more in real estate, invest more money in real estate.
Right. In your actual, in like purchasing and investing in real estate, not yet.
Absolutely. Yeah. If I could look back at myself, I would say buy one piece of property every year, live modestly, invest in your real estate portfolio. It'll never do you wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm always amazed at how, you know, especially realtors, you know, here we are selling this product. We know it incredibly well, yet not that, or there should be more of us actually investing in the product that we know so much about. We tell everyone it's a great investment and real estate's the best thing in the world, and that's how you make wealth. And then we don't do it.
And then we don't do it. Yeah.
Right.
I don't know if you remember, but back, again, I keep dating myself. For some realtors, there is a neighborhood called Jameswood. You know, in Jameswood out by the military base,
Yeah.
Little neighborhood.
I don't go west, but yeah.
Oh, there's a neighborhood called Jameswood.
Cool.
Anyways, when it was sold from the military to Qualico, they renovated all of those homes, and they were selling them for $79,900 to $99,000 per house. They now sell for $240,000 to $400,000.
Yeah.
And I remember when you know, taking clients going, oh my God, this is the greatest deal. If I would have had a brain cell back then, I'd have bought as many of those properties as I could, and I probably wouldn't be working today.
Right. No.
Invest in real estate.
Buy real estate. I like it.
Yeah.
You mentioned something yesterday. I just kind of wanted to, you know, can you show me the wall there, the organization wall?
Oh, well, I don't know how organized it is. Hang on.
She showed it to me yesterday, and I just went, and you talked about your organization. Can you tell me a bit about holy smokes, there's more than I thought. Your organization, your systems that you put into place, because again, to be as productive as you are over the years, you can't just completely have it, you know, flying by the seat of your pants. So can you talk a little bit about your organization and the systems you put in place? But just before you do, I see some people answering some questions or asking some questions on our Q&A. We'll have a formal Q&A session at the end. So please type in your questions there if you have any, and I will open up the floor at the end to some Q&A. But anyways, Linda, organization, how important has that been?
Okay, so another thing I've done from the day I started is I provide every single client with a closing file, and those file things that you see up on the thing are part of what goes into my closing file. I'm just in the process of turning that into a digital file for some people, because I'm finding some people don't open the file. So when somebody purchases a home from me or sells a home from me, at the very end of it, I send them a thank you letter. I tell them their file's going to the lawyer's office, and it goes in, let me just grab it here, a folder. So in the folder, it has little side thingies where you can put the stuff in. So everybody gets one of these folders. They get a copy of the offer. They get a copy of their condition removals. They get a moving checklist. I have an Excel spreadsheet that I use that I give them an estimate of what their net is so that they're not figuring it out. So I give them, here's what your commissions are. It was the sale of your house, your commissions. Here's what your lawyer bill is going to be like, because I have little brochures from lawyers. Here's what your net is. And then the next page is, here's how you're going to pay your taxes. So I give them like a really detailed list. My moving checklist is 2 or 3 pages long, and I put that all in a file. There's where my thank you note goes in, and I deliver that to my clients. And I've actually had bankers phone me and say, oh my God, thanks for all this information you gave my client, and you just saved me a whole bunch of work. So that's just something I've done right from the beginning. I try to be really organized so that my clients are in turn organized when they have to go for their insurance, and they get a copy of the MLS listing and all that kind of stuff. So it eliminates lots of questions.
Right, kind of solving the problems before they occur. Right?
Yeah. And I tell them when I meet with them, don't worry about remembering anything. I'm going to give you a checklist. I'm going to have this. You don't know anything, you're going to be able to click or call or phone me, and we'll figure it all out. So, and they wait for that. They wait for that file going, you say you're going to give me a file. Where's the file? And I try to get it to them within 24 hours of a final sale. That's the stuff that my husband does for me. So I'm able to be out on the road because I have a couple of people that assist me along the way. And one of them is my husband. He does all my deal sheets and he does all my closing files. So that's the closing file. Deal sheets are really important for us to have organized for people like you guys as our brokers. It is very rare that I will hand in a sale that doesn't have everything you need right on the first day. The FinTrack is attached, the receipt of funds is attached, the listing is attached, everything is attached, it's timely and it's in order, and it's gone to the office. It is a very rare day that my office phones me and says, hey Linda, you missed something. I check it, and then Jeff checks it, we double check it, and then we send it to the office, because your time's important and you shouldn't be tracking me down as a broker because I didn't know how to do my job. So it's really important to me to be organized. And no, he didn't pay me to say that.
I was going to say, I swear to God, I didn't pay her to say that. But I hope you were listening. That's great. You know, end the meeting right now. Boom, done. I'm happy.
Yeah, you know what? I honestly don't get chased around for much. If I come home at night and it's 10:30, 11 o'clock at night and I've got a final sale, I'll hand the file to Jeff. He will come down to our office And he looks at me and he says, you're working, I'm working. And he will have the paperwork ready to go first thing in the morning. And then it goes to the office.
Good stuff. I like it.
We're super organized with paperwork, really, really organized.
Yeah. This isn't one of the, I didn't apologize to spring this on you, but you mentioned talking about, giving the commission breakdowns and things like that for clients. It kind of just reminded me of, so when you started, back in the 90s, commission rates were like 7%, and now you've kind of seen, how have you, and you don't have to tell them, obviously don't share, what you charge and all that kind of stuff, but how have you had to adapt and go like, oh man, like there's this downward pressure on commission, yet you started at 7 and I'm not sure if you can keep it up there. Like, how have you kind of battled that whole commission thing?
You know what? I just tell my clients, I don't have a problem telling you what I charge. I certainly try to get 5%. If I don't, like everybody else, I take 4%. I do offer my clients a discount if they are past clients of mine. I will tell them if I double end it myself, you will get a discount, and we'll discuss that either now or we'll discuss that down the road. But we're going to discuss it so that it's not a hotbed item when we go to negotiate the sale. And I have no problem offering that to clients. I don't have them try to negotiate with me. I try to bring it up in advance because it's the white elephant in the room. Mm-hmm. And in my listing presentation, we talk about commissions. We talk about how I get paid and why I get paid and what I'm going to do and how much of it I net, so that there aren't any questions. I do have a fairly detailed listing presentation. It's actually, I have it on a PowerPoint and Keynote presentation that I can flip through it on my iPad, and that I can print it for people that are not savvy, right. So that I can leave it with them. And those usually go to my older clients because they're not usually good with the iPad and stuff. So I do try to, I can't, no crap, I just lost my train. Commissions. Yeah. I do try to bring up the commissions right on the front end. And unfortunately, a handful of years ago, there was a particular company that really ended up lowballing commissions, and we have had to compete against them. And that's just a fact. And how I've gotten around that is I've said to clients, no, our commissions used to be 7%, then they were 6%, prices went up, we've adjusted to help you. And that's sort of how I let them know, is like, this is what they are in normally right now. And because you're a past client, I'm going to help you with a thank you. And this is going to be part of my thank you. Right. So I have no problem giving a client a discount. What I don't like to do is negotiate after the fact. So I bring it up right at the front end.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's good. Jumping around a little bit here, so I apologize, but you just mentioned like buying more real estate, and we kind of chatted yesterday a bit about just being smart with your money now and going, okay, making and learning some things along the way. Can you tell me a bit about how what stuff you've put into place with, we talked about yesterday, just what you've done with your money, how you prepare for, you have a year in the bank, or I don't want to give your answers, but how have you been smart with money?
I'm organized. This pandemic's not panicking me at all. Okay, so I've tried to live fairly modestly. I don't live in an $800,000 house. I don't drive a fancy car. I try to be, as I said earlier, pretty much online with my clients. And I've been very fortunate. I've made a busload of money. The, what is that thing called? Circle of Legends. The Circle of Legends is given out at RE/MAX to a realtor who, during their length of time at RE/MAX, has made over $10 million in income. Wow. So I achieved that in the late year of 2016. So I've made a busload of money in real estate. I've also paid a busload of taxes. But while the crazy years were going on and I was making really, really, really good money, I made sure I own what I have. I own my house, I own my cottage, I own my vacation home, I own a rental condo. I don't owe anybody any money. I don't have a Visa bill statement. I pay it off every month. If I don't have the money coming in, I'm not getting it. So I've tried to live well within my means. Yes, I've made a boatload of money, but I have paid half of that in taxes. So 10 million is now 5 million, take 3 million off for expenses. Yeah, whoop-de-doo, I've made about $2 million. But I've made sure that what I have, I own. So what I do is, my husband and I have a management company. Well, Jeff has a management company, so he manages me. So he's a registered corporation. Every month I pay him a large sum of money, and he takes that and puts that into our corporation. And from the corporation, he pays all my bills. He pays my Remax bill, he pays my car, he pays my insurance, my fees, my dues, blah, blah, advertising, whatever marketing I do, all that comes out of the corp. So at the end of the year, and if I think I was using some round numbers with you yesterday. So let's say I make $500,000 this year and I pay my corp $300,000. And of that $300,000, Jeff's going to pay all the expenses. Then I have an income of $200,000 and I'm paying my income tax on $200,000, not $500,000.
Right.
He's paying corporate tax on $300,000, which is 11% versus my 40% or whatever it is that I'm paying. We make sure that we leave enough money in the corporation on an annual basis that if we have a crappy year, I can fly through the year and not have to worry about making an income, which is where we are at today. So for many people who are applying for the $2,000 a month, I am very fortunate that I do not have to apply for it, because I do believe it is there for the people who need it, because I have looked at myself and said, you know what, there's going to be some years that are going to be really lean and you got to be able to get through them. And that's this year. So I'm fortunate enough. And then at the end of every year, because we tend to get most of our income in sort of that last 4 or 5 months of the year, right? As all these possession dates are coming up and you're like, I'm in the money, woo! I make sure that I take lump sums of cash and I put them into my operating accounts for my homes. So I make sure that last October, I put enough money away for my property taxes, my utility bills, anything that I need to run my properties was put aside. So I'm good till September of this year. So I make sure that I get to spend money once everything else gets paid for, not, oh yeah, all right, I gotta save for my taxes. So I make quarterly installments with my taxes. I've already made that installment this year. I had that money last year for my first installment. So it's great to get all this money in, but I make sure that it's placed where it needs to be, and then I get the leftovers.
Yeah, I think that's just that's awesome. And I think for anybody watching, it's not about, oh, well, I'll do that when I make 500 grand. It's like, no, you do that if you're making 40 grand, 50 grand, 100 grand, whatever it is, living within your means, having the rainy day fund. And I get this isn't trying to be insensitive to people who are living a bit tougher, and it's struggling. But yeah, the concept is there. And that's what, my dad taught me the same thing. And I remember one of our first, if anybody was there from our Top Achievers Club, that we had a building wealth event. And it was actually Wayne who talked about, he says, I learned, he says, live on, make 50, live on 50, or whatever it was at that time. He says, make 100, live on 50, make 200, live on 50, make 300, live on 50, and bank the rest, rainy day funds, so that when stuff happens, and I talked about it at our coaching meeting today, this is for a lot of people, myself included, this is our real first downturn. Like I've been in it 13 years and it's a decent amount of time, but it's been smooth sailing, man, for 13 years. And now we see this dip. And so, to be able to make sure you have the rainy day fund and put money away and take care of your stuff and not live, again, beyond your means, I think is, no matter what income you're at, it's incredibly important. Yeah.
And you don't have to be making $10 million a year to live like that. I live in a little, same size house, I think, as you live in, and we've had it for 21 years, and my husband and I paid it off in 5 years because I was making some pretty good money, and it was like, we got to get this house paid off. So, if you focus on sort of living within your means, and if you have any extra money, you put it on whatever debt you have, you can work part-time if you want to, if you don't have much debt. Mm-hmm. Right? You don't have to make a whole lot of money once you've got yourself out of that little bit of a debt. And that's hard to do. I was just very lucky that I started at the recession, and as the market kind of climbed, my knowledge grew. And I was able to make a lot of money during those gravy train years, and many people did. I just didn't go crazy spending it all. I was spending it all on making sure I owned everything and buying whatever I wanted in real estate.
You weren't doing $1,000 pulls at the casino.
No, no, I was not. But not to say that I didn't spend money that I shouldn't have. Absolutely, we all do. But I didn't start spending money on myself till my properties were paid for.
Yeah, I like it. It was took care of business first, took care of your
Yeah,
future
that was,
first, and then went out and did whatever you did with it. Yeah,
yeah,
it's good.
yeah, yeah.
Talking a little bit about kind of you mentioned, where we are now with COVID-19 and, quarantines. Here we are, you're in your basement, et cetera. So what has your mindset been? I know you've put money aside kind of thing, but I know you're still working as well. What's kind of been your mindset towards where we're at right now with COVID? What do you see kind of in the marketplace where realtors need to focus on right now?
I think that we need to focus on the clients that have to make a move. I don't think it's our place as realtors right now to judge if somebody chooses to work. Everybody has their reasons, whether you're going through a divorce and you have alimony payments or whatever it is. Everyone's going through this pandemic in their own, and they're at their own stress level for wherever they are in life. And I don't think it's our place to judge. I know we have a Facebook page with the realtors on it and people are going, you gotta stay home and you gotta do this. And you know what? You gotta do what it is to keep food on your table. And as long as you follow the protocol that we've been given, because we are noted as an essential service, if you've got to go work, then you got to go work. It is what it is. I went out to an appointment yesterday. I'm trying to really be picky and choosy, trying to sort of keep it low for maybe the next month. And then I think we're going to hopefully get back to some normal.
Yeah.
But I had a client, they're in their 70s. He's had 4 strokes. They live in a 2,600 square foot bungalow. She can't do the yard. She can't do the driveway. She has to move. What do I do? How do you say, sorry, I can't come see you? So I put my scarf on, I put my mitts, my gloves on, and I went and spent a little bit of time with them doing our social distancing. But I do think that there's still a place for us in this market. We have to be very careful, but everybody is going through this at their own stress level. There are many people that suffer with mental illness. Everybody deals with stress at a different level, and I just don't think it's our place to judge. I think we have to work when we have to work, as long as we do it properly.
Yeah. And are you kind of, have you scaled back marketing and things like that at this point? Or is it you kind of keep it going, or just curious when?
I just sent 15,000 pieces out. You would have got one in your mailbox a couple of weeks ago.
Joey goes and gets the mail. I don't touch the mail.
I didn't get any calls. Yeah. It's expensive. And then the following week, I sent out an email newsletter, and I had 2 people respond within half an hour going, hey, thanks for reaching out. I'll be in touch as soon as we get through this. I got to list my place. Right. So I'm still doing my marketing. I'm still going as if I'm trucking along. So I'll send another marketing piece out in the next 50 to 60 days. I try to do that, my newsletter quarterly. And I'm going to start, I'm still going to keep in touch with my newsletters. And no, it's full speed ahead.
Full speed ahead, yeah.
I think that we have a calm right now before the storm.
Right.
And this is an opportunity for us as realtors to get our stuff together and be ready when it hits. Because I think when it hits, although we have lots of people out of work, we have lots of people working. I have a couple of doctors right now. They're sending me a message every 2 days. Yeah, can we go see this one? It's it's $850 and it's this much money. And I'm like, there's a pandemic. Can we wait? Yeah. So I do think there's a lot of people that are going to have a lot of money because there's a lot of people working overtime right now. That's going to be the market we want to be focusing on. We want to be focusing on the people who have been working, and probably our seniors, because they are probably going to want to get out of their homes and get into an apartment. And I think that in our older neighborhoods, there's going to be a lot of business to be had. So I think you got to be ready for it.
Yeah, the analogy, I was on a conference call, and Phil Soper, the president and CEO of LePage, was on it with a bunch of brokers, and he gave a great analogy, and it kind of piggybacks on what you mentioned. He said that there's you got to keep the tires spinning, and maybe it's spinning on ice right now because the market's the way it is. He says, but once you hit pavement, it's going to go boom, right? And if your tires aren't spinning, then the pavement's going to hit, and if they're not spinning, you're not going anywhere, kind of thing. So you have to keep the gas in the tank. You've got to keep the foot on the gas and have the wheels spinning, because it's hard to start from stop as opposed to keep it going, right?
Right. And I think for people who don't have the cash flow right now to do things like print media and advertising and magazines or whatever you're doing, then social media is your thing. It's huge. like I said with Amber, she doesn't spend any money on print media. She makes busloads of money. There's free ways to market ourselves right now that will still keep your business going. So I think that that's a big ticket right now. We can't be silent. You got to be in touch with your clients right now. You got to tell them, hey, I know what you're going through. I'm here when you need me. So I agree with you. I think it's still going to be foot to the floor for me.
Yeah, awesome. Last kind of a question before we hit, there's some questions that have come in, but that I have, just to kind of give some people a scope of, and this isn't, you know, I meant to put you on the spot or a pedestal and say, look at all that you have or whatever, but you mentioned to me yesterday, you're working on like an 8 or 9 month a year. And why I wanted to kind of quickly talk about it is because this is for me kind of the light at the end of the tunnel for a lot of realtors who are doing the grind, and some young guys, you know, and gals who are grinding right now and trying to get the income up and do all this thing to go, okay, well, is this going to last forever? Like, what's kind of that light at the end of the tunnel where you can go, hey, I'm working 8 months of the year, and this is kind of the promise of real estate. If you do the right things, you do good work, take care of your clients, be organized, have good systems. What's kind of the payoff now that you're experiencing with working this 8 month year?
I feel like I just have a really balanced life right now. So my husband said to me a number of years ago, he says, you can't keep working like this. Like, I don't see you, you're not around. Like, we don't need all this. Like when is enough? And I'm like, true that. So when we turned 50, so I'm 55. So 6 years ago, I said to Jeff, I said, okay, when I turn 50, I'm going to change the way I work, and we're going to take some time off. So I planned for that. Actually, it was probably a couple years before I turned 50. And it was very stressful because it was like, okay, I'm going to take like a month off. And I was panicking. And then a month of away and sort of recharging and being normal and not running out the door late at night and early in the morning was very nice, actually. So 1 month became 2 months became 3, and now 3 months have become 4. So this year it's going to be a lot more because I literally just got home at the beginning of March. So I have not actually worked since the end of October much. Yeah. So I had all of November, December, January, and February, and I came home the first week of March to sort of hit the pavement running. Yeah. And now we've got sort of a bit of a slow, but honestly, it's having some balance and having some normalcy. So we sort of know that when I'm home, it's foot to the floor. Please don't say, hey, can we go for dinner on Thursday night? I don't know if I can go for dinner on Thursday night. Right. I'm off for my 3 or 4 months. That's when we go for our dinners. That's when we do our thing. And right now, I will probably retire when I'm 60, so another 4.5 years. So right now I have a goal of, I'm going to do 8 to 9 months a year till I'm 60, and then I'm done. I'm going to let the young ones have it. I'm going to enjoy my retirement and say that I had 33, 34 really, really good years. Yeah. I do also think that our industry is going to be coming through a huge change on how we sell real estate. The more virtual tours we do, the more business we're losing, because everybody can do a virtual tour. Not everybody can close a sale, but our industry is going to go through a huge change in the next 4 to 5 years, and we may become very extinct. So I think that we have to find some balance and find other things to do and have a life with, so that if we do go through a big change, that we're not all going, great, I have no life. So right. I think a balance is good. And that's why I was saying, you don't want to be me from years ago. Make a good living, have a life, see your family, see your kids, have some balance, because I do think our industry is going to go through a really big change.
Yeah, and that's definitely, we see as well, like with technology coming in, and I know there's places in the States right now, they're having, showings even with, there's not even a showing agent. They're letting people, enter the home remotely through Ring or whatever it is, opening the doors, people can come through on their own without an agent. But I still think, again, if our business if your value is on providing data and opening a door for showings, well, then yeah, those are replaceable skills, right? But it's, as long as real estate remains highly expensive, highly complicated, and highly emotional, people are going to want a person to be that, that advisor, that person who's guiding on the couch crying, dealing with that stuff.
Yes.
Sorry, somebody just texted me that I need. Somebody just texted me that I need to shave. I know that. I know that.
I think it's a generational thing though too, because I think our loyal clients are older. No offense to anybody who's young,
yeah.
But our younger clients tend to look for a different value is sort of where I find, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, it'll be interesting to see. There's already shifts, you know, in my 13 years, in the last 5 years and 2 years, there's going to be shifts. And that's where, you know, anybody's probably gonna get sick of me for saying the word again, but it's all about adaptability, and we have to continue to change, adapt, and grow with what our clients' needs and expectations are. So the people who are doing that at the highest level of being creative and adapting to that climate, and that's why I'll say hats off to you. I mean, you know, a lot of people I've seen, other, you know, veteran agents just kind of stick in their ways and not change what they're doing and kind of stick with it. But you've adapted, you've grown, you've trying new things, you're learning Facebook, you're doing all this stuff to stay on top of things. And that's why you can still perform at this level. So hats off to you for that, Linda. Yeah, I want to turn over. So there's a few questions came in, and if anybody else has any questions, type them into your question box there. So one of them, in your career, have you ever experienced a plateau in production? And what did you do to get over the plateau and take business to the next level?
That was kind of my aha moment with, well, I almost said his name. Yeah, I was stuck. I was sort of stuck because I was sort of just being very structured and very businessy. And when I kind of let my personality kind of come into my business, my sales went from here to here. Like literally just overnight. I think that people have to see that you have a human side to you, because I'm sure many of you have heard a client say, yeah, I know, and you'll get the commission. Like they kind of bring that up. And whenever a client says that to me, I'm like, oh my God, like they just think I'm here for the money. And I think they have to see that human side to you that one of the things I've noticed that realtors do, if they lose a client to a private sale, that they can get a little bit rude. And say, well, oh, you're not going to sell it and everything. I've had many clients over the years say, you know, we're going to just do it privately, or we're calling so-and-so, or we're going to do comp free, or we're going to call Purple Bricks. And I'm never rude to them. I always say, you know what? No problem. If you need help with anything, give me a phone call. Like, because you know 90% of the chance it's not going to work. So if you diss them, they're not going to call you back.
Call me when it doesn't sell. Good luck.
Yeah. And if it does sell and they got to move somewhere, well, maybe they need a real estate agent, right? Yeah. So I think you have to be really careful with how you conduct the way you reply to clients. But my catapult was I just started being myself and started being more personal about getting involved in their families and what they do and asking them more questions instead of being more focused on real estate. So I'm not sure if that answers that question.
No, awesome. Thank you. Next question. Has your business mostly been, I guess, new, referral, or 50-50? And has farming been the best for new clients? So I think he's asking, you know, what percentage of your business is repeat and referral versus, you know, new income streams and new leads coming in off of marketing, et cetera?
I would say 75% of my business comes from my past. And we chatted about that briefly yesterday. I am very lucky because I have clients that were first-time buyers many, many years ago, and now their kids are growing and buying their first home, and I get to be their real estate agent. Their parents are moving from big homes to smaller homes or to condos. They're moving from a house to a smaller house. So a lot of my business is repeat. A lot of business from past clients refer me out. And I would say about 25 to 30% of it comes from my marketing.
Yeah.
So yeah, a lot of it is repeat clients from just years ago.
Awesome. Last question here that I got so far. I know you kind of touched on it, but any advice on finding the right balance with the work and personal life? Was it a set dollar amount? Was it scheduling time off? I guess some of the practical things that you did to really set that balance.
Yeah, you know what? You have to put yourself in your day timer. You don't have to tell people that. You can say, sorry, I have an appointment at that time. Your appointment's with you. So I have a mom and a mother-in-law in personal care right now, which unfortunately I'm not allowed to visit, but I schedule my calendar with when I'm going to visit my mom. And I just say to people, so, you know what, I can't, I have an appointment at that time. So I think you have to make yourself a priority that you're important, your health is important, your mental health is important, your physical health is important. And if you go to the gym every morning at 11 o'clock, then sorry, you got an 11 o'clock appointment that morning. And I think if I were to look back, I would have started doing that a lot earlier than I did, because when I finally started doing it a number of years ago, it was a bit of a challenge. It was a lot of guilt feeling. So I think that you need to take your calendar and fill in, you don't fill the whole thing in with your personal stuff, but you got to make time for you in whatever that is. But you've got to have mental and physical time for yourself in order to get through, because we take on everybody else's stresses, right? You're dealing with divorces, you're dealing with somebody passed away, you're dealing with financially not in a good space. So you end up taking on all of their stresses. So you need to be mentally able to do that. Yeah. So you got to include yourself in your schedule.
Yeah, I love that too. Just talking about, that, hey, no, sorry, I have an appointment, right? And nobody asks what your appointment is, right? No one's like, well, what are you doing? It's like, I have an appointment.
What are you saying?
Yeah, exactly. So just even that, it is valuable, just even having that line of dialogue. I mean, that just frees up so much time right there.
Yeah.
I like it. Schedule yourself in.
Yeah.
Question came in. How are you handling your business when you're off for 4 to 5 months? And do you have another agent helping you out? What do you do with 4?
I do. I literally take very few calls when I am gone. My calls get passed over to a lovely realtor that works alongside of me, and I
know.
I even throw her business during the year. Sorry, I'll stab there. I throw her business during the year if I'm crazy busy or I don't feel like working for a few days. I'll throw her lead calls during the year, and the last few years she probably makes between $35,000 and $40,000 a year from helping me. So it definitely contributes to her income in a large way, and I have to tell you, that is something that you really have to get by. It costs money to be away. It just does. And it's worth every single dollar. As much as I look at it and go, holy crap, I gave away $40,000 last year. I had 4 months off. There's a cost to being off, and I do have a very good qualified realtor that is available and is ready and willing to help me. Yeah, you got to find somebody you trust though, because I trust that when I send her a lead, I don't have to record that name down, that if she sells that person a property, that I'm getting my cut. And you've got to find somebody that you trust. We do not argue over commission splits or anything. And if she shows properties and they don't buy a property, I will pay her a lump sum and say, hey, your time's worth something. Here's $1,000 because you went out and showed these guys 15 properties.
Right.
Because that takes time out of somebody's day, right? If they end up going and buying privately, that's not my fault. Yeah. It is what it is, and she still gets paid.
Yeah, awesome, cool. I'm just seeing if there's any more questions coming in here. I'll give you guys just a quick minute. But while I wait for that, Linda, I can't thank you enough. Like, this is seriously, I'm blown away that you would come, especially some people ask, like, whoa, it's a RE/MAX agent, it's outside the bubble. It's like, well, yeah. And I think so to give us access and give our agents access to what you've done and to make you successful over the years is it's mind blowing. And it shows you your character and shows you that you, again, are giving in yourself. And I can't thank you enough for letting us do this and for sharing so much, and really do appreciate it.
You know what? Honestly, Michael, I appreciate you reaching out to me. It was nice to think that somebody would want to listen to what I had to say. And if anybody needs help with a listing presentation, I have an awesome listing presentation, and I would be more than happy to share what I do during the listing presentation too. So if that's
look at that. Okay, we got a follow-up meeting. That's good.
Well, if anybody wants to reach out to me privately, you're welcome to do that. I'm more than happy to tell you what I do for a listing presentation. I think you have to go into these appointments pretty prepared, and you've got to be able to be very confident when you're in there trying to get a listing.
Yeah. Okay, so some more questions came in. So as long as you're good for time?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. Okay, cool. So a couple more came in. So one of the people asked, are most of your clients understanding that you're actually away for 4 months, or do you get?
Yeah. You know what? People say, oh, this is great. You work so hard. We'll see you when you get back. Or who have you got working for you? Send that person, and you know what? We'll see you when you get back. Yeah. And if somebody isn't okay that I'm taking time off, next.
Yep, I agree with you there, and especially that, you know, when you build up that trust and rapport with the people, and you can say, you know, here's the person that I trust, and they will trust you because they'll trust that person because you do, right? And that's what it's
Yeah.
all about. Is
And
building
you
that
know what
trust.
I do? I start telling people in September that I'm going to be off. Oh, just so you know, if we don't find you a place by November, so-and-so is going to be kicking in because I take my time off at that time. I go at a quieter time of the year. So just so let you know, if I don't find you something, don't worry, I'll make sure you're taken care of.
Yeah, cool.
I tell people in advance so that if that's a problem for them and they don't want to work with me, they have that option.
Yeah. So another question came in. At what year in your business did you realize you made it and had the means to send out the amount of mailers that you do? Do you base it off your income, or do you have a set amount set aside every year for it? Like,
You
so
know
does
what?
that fluctuation?
That was a number of years in, like it was probably year 8 or 9. You know, like you're barely surviving for a lot of years. Like it was a long time in. It was a lot of open houses till then.
Yeah.
but back in the dinosaur age, and we talked about this yesterday, the only way somebody could see the house was to actually go to an open house or to make an appointment, because there was nothing online. We didn't have online. We had
Right.
a book.
Yeah.
This big and 6 words. So that's how we kind of got our business. So, but yeah, I started farming, I'm going to say probably 7 or 8 years in. So
Okay, so that would have been, that would be right around the 2000s. So did you was it kind of one of those things, oh, now I have enough money to start doing this? And then did you start small and then grow it, or did you completely just bang it out and you kind of stay consistent? Kind of.
I've always sent out probably a minimum of, like, I don't do 500,000 pieces. I don't have that budget. There's some agents that do. I stick to my little hood, and I send out, 10 to 15,000 pieces, which by the time I pay Janice to do my graphic, I go through Vistaprint, and then Canada Post to mail it. A 15,000 piece of marketing will run me, I've actually got really good on pricing now, is probably running me $3 or $4 grand to send out. So, you do that 4 times a year, just that farming is 12 grand. Right. So, you gotta have the money for it. So it was years in before I was able to afford to do that. A lot of years. Yeah. But if you start off with 6 streets, it could be $100. Then you go 7 streets and it's $150. And then it's, do what you can with your budget, but do something.
Yeah. I think it's one of those you mentioned as well with farming. I get the question a lot of, people, I'm going to try a flyer, it's like, okay, well, that's already a mistake in itself, saying you're going to try a flyer, right? But it's 2 years to grow asparagus. You have to strap in for the long haul. Do you not with farming? And there's sometimes, like you said, you send out the 15,000 and you don't get a call, and other times you do. So
yeah. And guess what? I'm still going to send 15,000 out next month. So it is what it is. 'Cause I might get 10 calls one time, but I might get none all year this year. But guess what? I probably still going to market, because at some point somebody's going to phone me.
They better phone somebody.
You know, when you start farming in your neighborhood, when you go to the grocery store and somebody walks up to you and says, "Hey, Linda, how's the market?" And you look at them with glossy eyes and like, I have no idea who you are. They look back at you and say, "Oh yeah, you don't know who I am, but I get your stuff in the mail."
Yeah.
So then they start to recognize you as the person to go to. Eventually, you might not hear from them for 5 years, but they know who you are, right? Yeah. And they'll Google you, or they'll be like, some Van something or whatever her name was, Remax. They do tend to find you,
right?
Because you keep poking them. It's like McDonald's. We all know McDonald's is the #1 burger company in the world, but guess what? They still advertise. It's called tapping. Tap, tap, tap. Don't forget about me. Oh, it's McDonald's. Oh, don't forget about me. And that's what I'm doing. I'm tapping. I'm like, oh, don't forget about me. You might not call me this year, but don't forget about me. Because if I think one mailer is going to do it, it's not.
No, exactly. Love it. Good stuff. I'll give it another couple seconds here. If there's any other questions that come in, leave it. But again, unless anything comes in, Linda, thank you so much.
Thank you for listening.
Yeah, and I already got a few texts and a few comments came in about that listing presentation. So expect me to expect to hear from me again soon, and we'll do a
Don't send your
follow-up.
message. They need to have a pretty good program to put it together. But they can, PowerPoint will do it.
Yeah, awesome. All right. Well, thank you again, Linda. Appreciate it, your time, and appreciate you. And best of luck. Stay safe. And wishing you. And I know you had some unfortunate news today with some family members. So I wish you all the best. Thoughts and prayers for you, and big hugs over the airwaves for your family.
Appreciate your time, everybody. Have a good day, and good luck in our new market.
All right.
We
Thanks,
got
Linda.
this.
Yeah, got it.
Okay.
Take care.
Bye.